Get ready to get your questions answered by financial advisors. Learn how to put more money back in your pockets regardless of where you're starting your financial journey with your host, Hannah Mitria. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Virtual U.S. Financial Advisor podcast. I'm super excited to have Ray Croff here with me today. He'll be going over exit planning. Ray is the CEO of Mobius Financial Advisors. Welcome to the show, Ray.
Thanks, Hannah. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And so share with us before we jump fully into like financial advising and the exit planning side of it, like how did you get into it?
Well, actually, I've been in wealth management and financial services about 25 years. And it was probably about 12 years ago that a client wanted to meet with me. And when we met, he said, he had to sell his business, asked me if I could help him. And I thought, well, not really. I don't do that because his wife had gotten ill. And so he needed to sell his business, even though he's only like 54 or something. So I'm driving back and I'm thinking, gosh, he's been with me for about 10 years, been with the same CPA, the same 12 years or so. And when he needed us the most, none of us really could help him. So I did what every good advisor does. I went back and Googled business brokers, right? And then this business broker comes in and does an evaluation of business and came back and said, his business is not sellable. And I thought, what are you talking about? Get out of my office. You don't know what you're talking about. So anyhow, I thought, okay, I really didn't say that, by the way. I got another business broker, brought him in, and she said the same thing. And I thought, something's going on here. So I met with her for lunch, and she just went through a laundry list of things. And she said, would you buy this business? And I said, no, I guess I wouldn't. And so I thought, gosh, I've been doing like financial planning for all these years and assuming the business owner would sell their business and monetize it and use that for retirement. And now all of a sudden I realized that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
So that's why I got into exit planning to help my business owners.
Yeah, awesome. And I think, thinking of it, like, so I'm a business owner myself, and I think, I'm going to sell my business. I don't even know who I would go to. There's not even that thought of, whenever you're starting business, think of like the exit in mind, because it's just like a marriage. You don't think of the divorce or anything else like that in mind. And so how do you start that conversation with the client when they come to you, maybe their business planning, or maybe it's just a wealth management client that doesn't even have a business yet, but they're about to start a business. How do you have that conversation with them? Well, let's plan for the exit, which is 55 years from now.
Yeah, usually when I meet with a new business owner, I'm not saying new in the business, but for the first time, I'll just ask them, tell me about your business and how you got started, why you got started, and what was the purpose of it. They had a passion for doing whatever they did. And in that conversation, it comes up that, yes, some point in time, I need to walk away from this business. I'm going to sell it. It's going to fund the next phase of whatever that might be. And I'll ask them, well, can you give me an idea of what that phase looks like? Is it traveling? Is it this? Is it starting another business or whatever? So it kind of reminds them why they started the business. And then to start that question, how far down the road is that? Is that 1 to 3 years? Is it 10 years? Are you going to die at your desk or whatever? So we start that conversation, and then it comes down to education, right? That statistics that I didn't know before I got into this, of the businesses that go to market, only 2 in 10 sell. Only about 20% actually sell.
Yeah.
That floored me. And literally, I had a panic attack because I was doing financial plans and assuming that all my business owners are going to sell their business. And now I was thinking, wow, 80% of those plans are going to fail, right? Once they kind of know those numbers, right? Okay, I need this business to retire on or go do the next phase, but there's only about a 20% chance that's going to happen. And they want to know why. Why is it that such a low percentage?
Yeah, that is such a small percentage. And just like with your client, he had a successful business. And so there was no reason to the outside that it wouldn't sell. So what are some of those reasons why I guess a business doesn't sell?
Yeah, lots of reasons. And cumulatively, it could be a bunch of small reasons. But one of the main reasons is the business is so dependent on the founder, right? So Hannah has all the relationships with the customers. Hannah does this. Hannah writes the checks. Hannah does everything. And so I'm going to buy Hannah's business, and Hannah's going to walk away. And now those customers have no loyalty to me. They had a loyalty to Hannah. So the risk is that 20%, 30%, 40% of the business is going to go elsewhere, is going to leave. And so I valued the business at X amount, but the value is going to drop by, could be 20, 30, 40, 50% or more. And so knowing that, I'm going to give you less for your business, Hannah, that you thought it was worth. You're going to be offended, right? And it just goes back and forth until somebody walks away.
Yeah.
And turns out many of them just liquidate their business because nobody wants to offer what the minimum you're going to take. Or more importantly, what you need. I need this amount to pay off my debt and fund my retirement.
Yeah.
So that's one of the main reasons, but for another reason, your key people. So when I buy your business, I look at your financials. And many business owners think, that's my business. Here, Hannah, here's my financials. I made money last year, which is true, but that's your past. I'm buying your future, right? This just gives me a gauge what it's done in the past. So now I'm going to say, okay, I know what it can do, what it's done in the past. What's the future? So I look at other things like your people and your processes and things like that, how much I can scale this business. If I look and see you've got 3 really key employees to this business, and you have nothing to tie them to that business, I'm afraid there's a high risk that as soon as I take over, they leave. Worse, they take customers. Worse, they take customers and compete against me.
Yeah.
So that's a big fear. So now I've just discounted your business even further. But on the other hand, is that if you have them tied to your business where it's a delayed, deferred payout that won't kick in until 2 or 3 years after the sale, great. I know they're tied to the business. You might have processes that make your business more attractive. Those actually increase the value of your business.
Yeah. And just like thinking of all these things, like, one, how do you balance you being a part? Because we all say like it's a lot about the relationships you build, which build a business. So how do you create that balance so that it is sellable later on?
Yeah. Well, when you're starting your business, you've got to be the business. You do everything, right? And it is that relationship. But at some point in time, if you're going to scale your business, you can't do everything. So that's number one, right? You can't do anything once it gets to a certain level. And number two is you've got to remove yourself, put a management team in place to where they are running the business. You need to be at the point where you could leave and take 3 months off and the business doesn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you're not needed. You can still be that visionary that is looking at new products or new, places to go with the business or starting another business or whatever. That's fine. You can still be that part, right? And if I look at your business and I see it running without you, I like that business.
Yeah.
I'm willing to pay you for that because there's no risk when you leave. And I can get that profit and the salary you were making by me not even being involved with business, right? So the relationships with those customers should be with somebody else, not with you.
Yeah. So just thinking there, like, okay, so what's that motivation to sell your business though, if you're able to be out of your business?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah. No, seriously. And there's other entrepreneurs that have created a really good business.
Okay.
Some of them just do that and they start another business and I'm just getting mailbox money. And that is great. But I'm just throwing numbers out.
Yeah.
Let's I'm getting $100,000 from this business, $100,000 from this business, but it's worth $5 million if I sell it. That's the reason I would sell it. Okay. Or because I either want to get out of it, I want to do something else, or I want to start another business. I'm going to take this $5 million and start a fishing business or whatever, right?
Yeah. All right. That makes sense. And what are some other ways to make sure you're keeping your key employees whenever you leave?
Yeah, so I guess old school of thought or flawed school of thought is I'll just give my employees more money or
Mhm.
I'll give them health benefits. Well, they can get health benefits anywhere, right?
Mhm.
And getting more money, if you gave me $1,000 more a month, really appreciative for a couple months, right? But after that, I get used to it. Now I've got a nicer car or whatever. And so, but it's not keeping me, right?
Mhm.
Competitor offers my employee 20% more, they're going to go, right? So, whatever that strategy is should be tied to the success of the company. So, Hannah, I'm creating this that says you're going to get so much now, but the bulk of it is going to be later. And you can
Mhm.
structure that anytime. It could be, oh, you're going to be vested in it, or when I plan on selling Hannah in 10 years. And if you stay for 12 years, you get the rest of this.
Mhm.
There's going to be $250,000 in it.
Yeah.
If you don't stay for 2 years after the sale, you get nothing.
Mhm.
But if you do, you get a very nice payday,
Yeah.
right? And so structuring the compensation along those lines.
All right. Awesome. And so what are some other things that a business should be doing to kind of prepare for an exit?
Well, I think besides creating an environment where you're not running it, but creating processes that allow you to scale.
Mhm.
So, it's because when I buy your business, yeah, I see that you're making $200,000 a year, $1 million a year, whatever, but I want to make more. And so, when looking for an HVAC company, I could look at 20 of them, right? What makes one better than the other? Or what's keeping me from just buying 20 trucks and starting my own HVAC company? It's because of the processes and things that you've perfected and put in place, whether it's marketing processes or just manufacturing process or whatever that might be.
Mhm.
Hannah, can you make the hamburger?
Yeah, I can make a hamburger.
Can you make one better than McDonald's?
I think so.
Absolutely, you can and I can. They sell, right? But that's not what makes them valuable. What makes them valuable is they can take a 16-year-old kid and he can be running that place in a month.
Mhm.
Processes, the brand, of course, yes, but they didn't franchise until they had those processes. And so, if I say I could buy that HVAC that has 20 trucks, whatever, but that one has 20 trucks, but I mean, they make a lot more money because of their processes. They can scale, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. It takes you out of the equation again. Like because you have a process of how to do this. And so they're not coming back to you constantly on what do I need to do?
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. I mean, getting you involved in this is that how many podcasts can you do in a day?
Not many because you get tired.
So you're capped, right?
Yeah.
But let's say you did some, but it trained somebody else and somebody else does it. And all of a sudden you've got a team of 10 doing podcasts. Now you went from X amount to 10X amount,
Yeah.
right? So your business is much more valuable by taking you out of the equation, right? And you've got such a process which you could only hand it to me and I can do my own podcast
Mm-hmm.
because Anna has got the script, she's got everything, she's got plug and play, IT, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it kind of reminds me of Tony Robbins, if you're familiar with him, just because he has conferences, little conferences happening all the time that he's not at. It's just his name that he taught somebody on his team how to do. So it's kind of neat. Like at the end of the day, the Tony Robbins organization, one day, 100 years from now, when he's not here, it can still be an organization without him.
Absolutely. Exactly right. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. So what's the timeline kind of look like? Like you mentioned when you're talking to a client, you ask them how many years before they're going, but realistically, how much time do they need?
Well, depends on the complexity of the size and the complexity and where they're at. So if I went in there and did a complete assessment, right, and said, okay, you're at this level, and we do assessment on all 8 functions of business and say, realistically, if you were going to market, you could sell or you could not sell, whatever. But if you want to go to market and hit this number, let's say a multiple of 6 or something like that, and instead of 6 million, it's 10 million. They said, that's the number I need or whatever. Then we'd look at what we need to do and then determine how long that's going to take. A lot of it's going to depend on how much time and effort they're going to put into it. That's normally the big pushback with business owners. It's not necessarily the money, it's the time and effort. I've got a business to run. And so, Hannah, if the business is really dependent on you and you're going, oh gosh, now I've got to do some focus here, right? So that's one of the first things we would do is train someone to take your position, right? So that you can focus on the big picture. So typically 2 to 3 years, we like 3 to 5, right? But if a client says, I want to be out here in 1 year, well, okay, we're going to have to scale down what we can do. We'll just have to kind of cherry pick the things to develop the most increase in value.
Yeah.
Right? We might not get that number, the multiple that you want, but the timetable is going to determine that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it kind of like, so if you have a business where you are the one that everybody's relying on, you can kind of correct that in 2 to 5 years.
Oh, easily. Yeah. I mean, I could take you out of the equation rather quickly. When I say rather quick, it could be 6 months.
Yeah.
Right? But there's other things. There's the processes and things like that, the people, the training. Who's going to take your position? They may say, my daughter's going to take my position, right? Well, then once you evaluate the daughter, maybe she doesn't want the position, or maybe she does. Maybe she's not right for the position, or maybe could be that she wants it, she's right for it, she's just not ready for it. So you have to put her on some plan to get her ready for it. She might run the business now, but there's a big difference between running the business and being responsible with being the CEO.
Yeah.
Right? And so we may say, here's where she's lacking. Part of these we can probably train her for, and part of it might be we can supplement it with somebody else. Your son is really strong here, or we're going to hire a CFO to take that part off of her.
Yeah.
Right?
Does it make sense? So, you have 2 to 5 years, but I'm like, hey, I want to sell in 15 years. Is there any reason you even start doing stuff yet?
Absolutely. Yeah, the same things that you would do to sell the business, most of them, are the same things you should do anyhow, right? Right? Remove yourself from the business, create a process so you can scale. You want to be more efficient. You want to be more profitable, like anyhow, right? Too many times business owners, they make a great cupcake and someone says, you should sell those cupcakes. And they start making cupcakes and it's taken off. And all of a sudden they're just overwhelmed and they're not making any money or very little money. Why is that? Right? Yeah. So we work with them to increase their margins, put processes in and things like that so that they can actually make more money and enjoy it. So many founders, after time, they don't enjoy that business anymore. They don't enjoy it. All the joy is gone. It's become drudgery.
Yeah. I can understand. The more you're just kind of doing that day to day and you're not growing, you're not stepping away a little bit, because being able to work on the business instead of in the business is that growth side of it for you. So yeah. So what are some key things to really start considering if you own a business and one day you want to exit it? Because I think we all want to retire at some point. So what are those key things we should be kind of considering?
Well, at every point in time, you should know what your business is valued at. What's it worth? If I was going to take it to market right now, what's it worth? And you can do that valuation. You don't have to do a full-blown evaluation. You can do a smaller evaluation once every couple of years or something like that. And what's that number that you need? Do a financial plan. I need X amount per year, plus I want to travel, plus I want to do philanthropic stuff. Whatever that number is, bring it to a present value number and just understand that there's a gap. My business, I can get $3 million, but I need $5 million. Okay, so I either need to, walk back my thoughts about what I need, standard thing, or I need to build value in the business. Okay. So, we're going to build value in the business and know that number and what it's going to take. Right. And then just like anything, make a plan, a 3-year plan or 5-year plan or whatever. So you make a 5-year plan to get to that number. So what do I got to do in the next 3 years to get there? What do I got to do in the next 1 year to hit my 3-year plan? So you just break it down into chunks so that every 90 days you're focusing on something. You don't focus on all that other stuff. You focus on these 2 things.
Yeah.
You need to come up with a procedures manual, a business plan, or whatever that is, and get that focus, get that done. And then off your list, the next 90 days, come up with something else. And it becomes a cadence. This is the way of doing business. Every 90 days, we evaluate, we create another set of goals, and you'll look up in a year and you'll look back and say, man, we've sure come a long way. And then you just do it all over again.
Yeah, definitely. So what is something maybe I didn't ask about exit planning that you think a business owner should know?
Well, business owners, they know their business very well. And sometimes they feel like they know the transition part and they just don't, right? There's a lot of due diligence. The first thing they need to do is they need to start thinking like a buyer. Look at their business like a buyer would. It's a paradigm shift. I love my business. It does really well for me. But looking from the outside, they think your baby is ugly for a lot of these different reasons. That's number one, to start looking at your business from the perspective of a buyer, not from the seller, right? And start today, right? Value is created by de-risking. It's like if you looking at the stock market, the higher the risk, maybe the higher the return, right? I mean, that's what you expect. If I look at your business and there's risk, the more risk, the less I'm going to offer you, right? So always be thinking in terms of reducing risk in your business, right? You get business owners, they say, yeah, 50% of my business comes from Walmart. Aren't I great? This is wonderful. And I look and I say, whoa, that's really risky. I buy the business, Walmart goes someplace else, the business loses 50% of their sales.
Yeah, definitely.
And find somebody that knows about the process, about building value and de-risking your business, so you don't feel like you have to read 25 books, right? And educate yourself. There's people that do it.
Yeah. One thing that kind of comes up, and it's kind of a random question. So I'm really good at that. Is there a kind of business that's just not sellable?
Well, there's not necessarily. I mean, very small businesses sometimes are just not sellable, right?
Yeah.
Or someone, cuts hair, something like that, or very small. But if they have 4 chairs and they've got 3 people that rent those chairs or whatever, yeah, you could sell those or whatever. But the ones that are not sellable are the highly risky ones. Even larger businesses cannot be sellable because too much risk, high concentrate on customers, or over dependence on the owner, or it's just in a environment that got a low barrier to entry. Anybody can get into it, whatever. You don't create a monopoly because you don't have a monopoly, but you can create your space so unique, right, that it seems like a monopoly. Take wealth management. You walk out this door and you trip over 10 of them. They all look alike, right? To most business owners, y'all look alike. But if you specialize in building value in the business, wait a second, you're not like every wealth manager. That is sellable. Being a wealth manager, you can sell the book of business, but the business necessarily is not sellable.
Yeah. So, Ray, for anybody, a business owner listening, how can they connect with you?
Well, they can call me or text me at 940-391-5336. And I've got email, Croff@mobiusfa.com, or, which is easier to remember, Croff, Croff, at raycroft.com. That's easier to remember.
Awesome. And we'll put all your information in the show notes for us. Thanks so much for kind of sharing all this exit planning stuff and answering all my questions on there. I've loved having you on.
Okay. Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Virtual U.S. Financial Advisor podcast. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or via RSS so you'll never miss an episode. We'd love a rating on iTunes, or better yet, tell a friend about the show, which will help us grow as well. If you want to learn from any of our financial advisors, head over to our website, virtualusfinancialadvisor.com, to learn more about each financial advisor and connect with them personally. Be sure to tune in next week to get more advice from the expert financial advisors. See you on the next episode.